Hello, it's Rachel. Today I'm discussing Kung Fu Season 3, Episode 5. So sorry for skipping Episode 4 last week. I promise it's not going to become a habit to be 1 week on, 1 week off. To give you a little peek of my process, normally as I'm watching the episode, I'll make like a bullet point list of plot details I want to discuss. And then once the episode's over, I'll like go through that list and write some commentary thoughts that I have. So for episode 2, I didn't really have much to add in terms of commentary, so I decided to scrap that one. But then for episode 4 last week, I barely even had anything for like my bullet point list because the episode was more of a one shot and just very little occurred that was relevant to like the overarching narrative of the season. So yeah, hopefully I won't skip much more for the rest of this season. But enough of this more or less maintenance talk, and let's get started discussing episode 5. So the episode starts with Althea giving a makeover to Pei Ling, and during what should be a fun girls' night, Pei Ling disassociates and she has a inner struggle with Zhao, where she imagines stabbing Althea to her horror. Althea picks up that something is off, and she quickly contacts Nikki, and this causes Pei Ling to finally confess to Nikki that she can feel that Zhao is getting stronger. And this kind of spurs Nikki into, I don't want to say a panic, but she's definitely alarmed, and she's very determined to separate Pei Ling and Zhao because she's distressed that she might have to watch Pei Ling die again if she doesn't do that as soon as she possibly can. As Nikki is very obviously and understandably terrified of what this means for Pei Ling's health, she quickly goes to Henry to ask him to help her in saving Pei Ling. Nikki doesn't want to tell Bo about any of this and just kind of leaves him in the dark, and she's very vague when she cancels plans with him, which, babe, unless you want to break up, this is not the right move. But Henry and Nikki start to do some research, and they kind of get on the wavelength that an exorcism is probably what they need to do to save Pei Ling. And Henry soon discovers a candle that was used in the Salem witch trials, and that sounds promising to them. Surprise, surprise, given this candle has magic associated with it, the Wan's Eye has it in their possession. So Nikki and Henry have to make a deal with them in order to get it. So I'm sure the Wan's Eye will appear again later in the season to make good on that deal. Otherwise, it was just like pointless stakes. So, not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about where that could go, given how contentious the Wan's Eye was with Nikki and Henry last season. But they get the candle, and they return to Pei Ling. So Nikki, Althea, and Henry then perform this exorcism, which is more them sitting around her while Pei Ling has to fight Zhao in her mind. Now, obviously, because we need tension, it seems like Zhao is going to overpower Pei Ling until Pei Ling seemingly has an epiphany about Zhao's emotional state and locks her in a cage. Visually, this moment was really cool. But I don't know how to feel about this development. Obviously, the writers can't remove Zhao from the plot because, as of right now, at least, she seems like the only viable threat for Nikki to have to fight at the end of the season. So this is like very blatantly a temporary obstacle to kind of like lull us into a feeling of comfort before she comes back stronger. But I don't know. I wish the exorcism had like kind of, I don't know how it would have happened because I feel like Zhao needs a host. I feel like she can't exist without someone else's body. but I wish there had been a way to separate Zhao and Pei Ling because, like, the longer Zhao is stuck in Pei Ling's body, the more anxious I get that to defeat Zhao, Pei Ling's gonna have to die again. And it's just, I don't want to say it's like bad writing in terms of like narratively necessarily, but it just feels like so lazy, I guess, to bring her back and then kill her again, if that's where this is going. Also, not to like expose myself in my anti-carceral view, Zhao being like imprisoned in her mind doesn't fully sit right with me because Pei Ling was literally like, I understand your pain and fear over being trapped in a cage, but I'm still gonna do that to you anyway. And it's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel good. Like, even though I hate Zhao, it doesn't feel good to see someone with like trauma about being held prisoner to be put in another prison. So, as for the other parts of the episode, though, the B plot was Jalan's plan to fight the Harvester. Unfortunately, when she tries to fight the Harvester, she learns that this being has some tricks she didn't account for, and the Harvester managed to kill everyone she had been hiding out with, which it was pretty fucking brutal. During this fight, though, we also learn that the Harvester has been reaping souls of guardians and warriors in order to help Zhao gain her strength back. So, as I said, I think in my 3 to 3 review, I'm predicting that we're driving towards a Jalan and Pei Ling reunion. And I think it's going to happen in the finale, which means that Jalan will probably spend most of the season in this other realm trying to get home. I'd love to be proven wrong, but given Pei Ling and Nikki are just going to learn about Jalan's situation in the next episode, in episode 6, that means that episode will probably revolve around their emotions that this information stirs up. And I don't know, given this connection between Zhao and the Harvester, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a situation where like they have to be defeated at the same time, but where Nikki and Pei Ling would have to be fighting Zhao while Jalan is fighting the Harvester. Because I feel like those are what have to be the final battles, because at least as of right now, there's nothing else in terms of the magical world that exists as a threat. And I don't see what can be a bigger threat than either of those. But yeah, I can't wrap up the discussion of this episode without getting into Nikki and Bo. So, as I said earlier, Nikki was withholding the situation, both what's going on with Pei Ling and what's going on with Henry, since she has not disclosed anything about magic to him. So, like, I understand the hesitance, but this is a situation where, like, the warrior bloodline and all that entails is so integral to Nikki's life that, like, either she needs to open up about all this or cut ties. Because there's just going to be so much she's hiding if she continues to not let Bo into this aspect of her life. And this is one of the things that I find really frustrating about this genre, like this superhero vigilante type genre, where it's like, you gotta be honest and stop gaslighting these people you claim to care about, or like cut them off and allow them to live their life away from you. So when Bo confronted Nikki and said that their current dynamic wasn't working, like, it was sad, but I was really happy that he was being so clear about where he stood. And I'm not gonna lie, I was happily surprised that Nikki came to his place at the end of the episode to try to fight for their relationship. On the one hand, it's kind of heartbreaking to see her go for things with Bo when the narrative makes it really clear she's ultimately going to choose Henry. But I'm glad that she genuinely cares enough about this relationship that even now, with Henry back, with Henry wanting to pick things back up, she goes to Beau. She's ready to disclose everything because they have something that she genuinely wants to pursue. Beau fully gave her an out, but Nikki shows up, pleading for another chance. And that's important. Like, I know in fandom culture, I ship wars and all that, and like the way a lot of relationships that don't end up being endgame get like devalued. But like at this point in Nikki's life, she has the choice of Henry or Beau, and she chooses Beau. Like, I know they're unlikely to survive the season, but that's important. And even when she gets back with Henry in the future, it will still matter that she chose Beau here. um, but yeah, they have won me over. I'm very invested in them. Um, but yeah, I think I've covered everything I want to say. As always, if anyone has any thoughts, please feel free to leave a comment, because I'd love to continue talking about the show and where I think things are going this season. And I'll catch you guys for episode 6 next week. Bye!